Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive with me? Today, we're going to tackle emotional abuse and trauma. It's a heavy topic, but super important. We're going to explore how deep it affects people, especially the brain. So we're going way beyond just definitions. We'll see how sneaky emotional abuse can be, like how it might start small, then gets worse. It can even make it hard to know what's happening. We're going to unpack all the lasting effects, not just like emotionally and mentally, but physically too, and that's kind of scary. But most importantly, we'll see how healing is totally possible. Think of this deep dive as like a journey to understanding and feeling empowered. You'll leave with knowledge and insights, even things you can actually do to help yourself heal or someone you care about. So first things first, what exactly is emotional abuse? It's not just like mean words or a bad day. Emotional abuse is done on purpose. It's a pattern. It's all about controlling, manipulating, making someone feel small. It's intentional. It happens again and again. And it uses stuff other than physical actions to hurt someone's well-being. And here's the thing, it's often sneaky. Emotional abuse can be subtle. It can even look like they care or even love, which is crazy, right? Maybe it's just a little snide comment here,
Yeah.
dismissive thing there. But over time, those little things, they add up. They chip away at your self-worth, leaving you feeling, I don't know, confused, anxious, like you doubt yourself. One source, Site2Go, breaks down 6 common tactics. And they're kind of scary how much they resonate. First, you got the classic power and control thing. This is where the abuser uses like manipulation and stuff to pressure you into things you don't want. It might start small, but it can escalate, like controlling your money, keeping you away from loved ones, or even pushing you into substance abuse or doing illegal things. Then there's exploitation, where they just don't respect your boundaries. It's all take, 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 with no regard for what you need or feel. It's about what they can get from you, whether it's emotional support, money, whatever. And they often disguise it as needing help, which makes you feel guilty for even thinking about setting boundaries. Verbal abuse is another one, and that's pretty obvious. The American Psychological Association, they have a definition for it. It's using words to put someone down, make them feel scared or small, like yelling all the time, insults, humiliating you, threats, name-calling. That all falls under this, and the impact. It's not just surface level. Those words, they can really mess you up inside. They eat away at your self-esteem and how you see yourself. Then there's the silent treatment, deliberately ignoring you. That's super manipulative too. It's meant to make you question yourself. And it makes you desperate to please them just so they'll talk to you again. It's a way of putting the blame on you, making you feel like you have to fix things. Isolation is another common tactic. The abuser tries to control who you see, where you go, who you even talk to. They might badmouth your friends and family, make you question those relationships. The goal, to cut you off from anyone who can support you, leaving you alone and dependent on them. And lastly, we have threats. This can be all sorts of stuff. Threats to leave, to hurt you physically, or even to hurt themselves if you try to leave. This is all about control, keeping you trapped in fear. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and sad. Therapist Cuddy Morton says most kids who are abused, whether it's physical or verbal, they end up becoming abusers themselves later on. It's like this awful cycle of trauma just repeating itself. And that shows just how badly we need to intervene and help people heal. The really messed up part is, emotional abuse is often brushed off. People might say, oh, they're just words, or you're too sensitive. That just makes it harder for victims to see it and deal with it. They start to blame themselves, thinking they're the problem. So we've seen that emotional abuse is not just a little annoyance. It's serious trauma with lasting, awful effects. But the question is, how does this trauma actually show up? How does it change how we think, feel, and interact with the world? One of the most shocking things I found was this statistic from the CDC. People who were abused as kids, they live about 20 years less than others. Let that sink in for a sec. Abuse doesn't just mess with your mind and emotions, it wears your body down over time. Part of that's because of the constant stress abuse puts you under. Imagine living in fear all the time, anxious, always on edge. Your body's flooded with stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline. And over time, that takes a toll on everything. Your organs, your immune system, even your cells. It's like your body's stuck in fight or flight mode, never getting a break to rest and repair. But it goes deeper than just the physical effects. Trauma leaves deep scars on you emotionally and mentally too. There's this research in JAMA Psychiatry, one of the sources highlighted it. It showed that kids who go through emotional abuse, they have the same level of PTSD symptoms as kids who are physically or sexually abused. Think about that. Those invisible wounds from emotional abuse. They can be just as bad as actual physical violence, but they often go unnoticed, like nobody gets it. And that lack of understanding makes it so much harder to cope and get help. When you're emotionally abused, especially as a kid, it can totally warp how you see the world and yourself. Imagine growing up where your feelings are always dismissed, your needs are ignored, your boundaries are crossed. It's no wonder people end up feeling unworthy, insecure, full of self-doubt. This can also lead to what they call body memories, where your body, like, physically reacts to the trauma years later. You might feel pain, tension, discomfort in certain spots,
Yeah.
even though there's no physical reason for it. It's like your body's holding on to that memory of the abuse, even though it's long gone. And this is just the beginning, folks. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how emotional abuse affects you as an adult, from your attachment style, how your emotions develop, to your relationships, your work, your whole well-being. We'll also get into some neuroscience, which is pretty cool, to understand how trauma actually changes your brain, rewiring it and creating patterns of thinking and behavior that can feel impossible to break. But here's the good news. Your brain is amazingly adaptable. It can heal and grow. It's incredible. So stay tuned, because next time we'll look at the hopeful side of recovery. We'll explore all the tools and techniques that can help you take back your life and really thrive. So we just talked about like how insidious emotional abuse can be, how it can really mess you up. But even with all that darkness, there's this spark of hope. And you know what? You are incredibly resilient. And your brain, that amazing thing, it can actually heal and rewire itself. It's pretty amazing. In this part, we're going to switch gears a bit. We're going to move away from all the heavy stuff and explore like the empowering reality of recovery. We're going to look at the therapies, the tools, the techniques that can help you process all that trauma, get your power back, and step into a brighter future. Imagine your brain like a garden. Okay, so emotional abuse is like a storm that just rips through, tears up the plants, leaves debris everywhere. It's a mess. But even after a storm, even when it feels like everything's destroyed, there's still potential for growth. With time, care, and the right nourishment, that garden can flourish again. It might even be more beautiful than before. And that's what healing from trauma is all about. It's like tending to your inner garden, giving it the support and nourishment it needs to thrive. And one of those powerful ways to do that is through therapy. Talking about your trauma can seem, I don't know, scary, maybe even impossible. But therapist Katie Morton, she says it's a crucial first step in healing. When you put your experience into words, when you share that pain with someone who cares, it lets you start processing all those buried emotions and memories. And you do it in a safe space where you feel supported. One therapy that's really effective for trauma is trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. They call it TFCBT. This approach helps you develop coping mechanisms, learn how to regulate your emotions, and challenge all those negative thoughts that keep you stuck in that cycle of pain. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine your brain has a smoke detector. It's always on, scanning for danger. After you experience trauma, that smoke detector becomes super sensitive. It goes off even if there's just a tiny bit of smoke. So even small everyday things can feel terrifying. TFCBT is like retraining that smoke detector. You help it tell the difference between real threats and harmless situations. One technique they use in TFCBT is relaxation training. This includes things like deep breathing and progressive muscle relaxation. These techniques help calm your nervous system, reduce anxiety, and give you back a sense of control over your body's stress response.
It's like teaching your inner alarm system to chill out, to remember that you're safe now. Another powerful technique is cognitive coping strategies. This helps you identify and challenge those negative thought patterns that often come from abuse. It's about recognizing those distorted beliefs, like, I'm not good enough, or it's all my fault, and then replacing them with more positive, realistic thoughts. It's like weeding out the harmful thoughts and planting seeds of self-compassion and empowerment instead. EMDR is another interesting therapy that's becoming really popular for treating trauma. EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Basically, you follow your therapist's finger, a light, or a sound with your eyes while you recall the traumatic memory. It sounds kind of weird, but this back-and-forth stimulation seems to help the brain process and reintegrate the memory in a way that makes it less emotionally charged. It's like gently guiding your brain through a process of desensitization, allowing you to revisit the trauma without being completely overwhelmed by it. But therapy isn't just about talking and processing emotions.
It's also about reconnecting with your body and learning how to regulate those physical sensations that often come with trauma. That's where approaches like somatic experiencing come in. Somatic experiencing focuses on helping you release the trapped energy and tension that trauma can store in your body. Remember, we talked about body memories. Well, somatic experiencing helps you process those sensations, letting your body finally let go of the pain it's been holding on to. Mindfulness practices like yoga and meditation, they're super powerful healing tools too. They help you become more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. And you learn to observe them without judging yourself, which can cultivate a sense of inner peace. It's like creating a safe space within yourself, a sanctuary where you can just be without needing to fix or change anything. And here's something you might not expect. Even simple writing exercises can be really therapeutic. When you put your experiences into words, it can help activate your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that's in charge of rational thinking and decision-making, which often gets shut down during trauma. It's like giving your thinking brain a chance to catch up and make sense of what happened. It allows you to process the trauma in a more controlled, rational way. And get this, research shows that mindfulness practices can actually reverse the brain changes caused by trauma. MRI scans have actually shown that mindfulness can lead to growth in the hippocampus. That's the part of your brain responsible for memory and emotion processing, which often shrinks after trauma. It can also shrink the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. So it calms down that constant fight or flight response. It's like giving your brain a much-needed reset, helping it restore balance and create new, healthier pathways. Now, finding the right therapist is crucial. You need to feel safe, comfortable, understood. Don't be afraid to try different therapists until you find one who's a good fit for you. It's like finding a trusted guy who will walk with you on your healing journey. They offer support, encouragement, and just listen without judgment. And here's another encouraging thing. Medical Centric talks about the incredible benefits of therapy for kids who've experienced abuse. Therapy can help them learn to trust again, rebuild their self-esteem, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and recognize healthy relationships. It's about giving them the tools and support they need to break free from that cycle of abuse and create a brighter future. And let's not forget about medication. While it's not a magic cure, medication can be helpful for managing the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and PTSD that often come with trauma. It's like throwing a life raft to someone who's drowning in their symptoms. It lets them catch their breath and gain some stability before they dive deeper into the healing process. But healing isn't just about therapy and medication. It's also about connection and support. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who offer kindness and compassion. It can make all the difference. Whether it's friends, family, or a support group, having people to lean on reminds you that you're not alone and that you have the strength to overcome this. And remember, recovery isn't always a straight line. There will be good days and bad days. There will be setbacks and breakthroughs. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small wins. And never give up on the possibility of a brighter future. One source used this beautiful analogy from the movie Inside Out. They compared processing traumatic memories to putting together a shattered marble. It takes time, patience, and the right tools to pick up those pieces and form them back into something whole. But with each piece, you carefully fit back into place. You reclaim a part of yourself, a part that was lost but never truly gone. So whether it's therapy, medication, mindfulness practices, support groups, or even just writing about your experiences, there's so many ways to begin healing. And remember, every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward reclaiming your life, your power, and your sense of self. We've talked a lot about the individual experience of healing, but there's another crucial aspect to this conversation, the societal impact of abuse and the importance of breaking that cycle. One source highlighted this chilling statistic from the United Nations. Abuse against women costs the global economy $1.5 trillion every year. That's due to lost productivity, healthcare expenses, legal costs. It's a massive number. It really highlights the huge economic burden of abuse. But it's not just about the money. The same source pointed out that abuse is everywhere, affecting millions of people worldwide. They even compared it to an entire continent's population living in fear. That's how widespread this problem is. And remember that statistic we talked about earlier about children of abuse survivors being more likely to experience trauma themselves. This shows how the cycle of abuse just keeps going unless we actively do something to stop it, unless we create a culture of support and healing. Another disturbing thing about abuse that's often overlooked is the role of pets. A statistic revealed that about 71% of domestic violence survivors in the U.S. say that their abusers also hurt or threaten their pets. It's a tactic of control and manipulation, using the victim's love for their pet to exert power and stop them from leaving. These statistics are stark reminders that abuse isn't just a personal problem, it's a societal issue. We need to address the root causes of abuse, challenge societal norms that perpetuate violence, and create a culture where victims feel safe to come forward and ask for help. We need to educate ourselves about the signs of abuse, learn how to support survivors, and fight for policies that protect victims and hold abusers accountable. It's about breaking the silence, shifting the shame away from the victim, and creating a world where abuse is simply not tolerated. But in the middle of all this heaviness, there's a glimmer of hope. One of the sources focused on the incredible resilience of survivors. They shared a study from the Journal of Traumatic Stress that found 80% of survivors who seek therapy report significant improvements in their quality of life. Think about that. Despite the pain, the trauma, the lasting effects of abuse, most survivors who reach out for help find healing and experience a better life. That's a testament to the power of human resilience and the potential for transformation, even after the darkest of experiences. And that brings us to the heart of recovery. It's about reclaiming your life, your power, your sense of self. It's about choosing to heal, to grow, to thrive. And it's a journey worth taking, one step at a time. Now, before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, I want to share one more source that really stuck with me. It felt different from the others, more personal, more like a pep talk from a friend who truly understands. It started with this beautiful affirmation. You are amazing. Yes, you. Honestly, hearing that just made me feel lighter. It's a reminder that even in the middle of pain and struggle, there's still that spark of awesomeness within you. The author acknowledged that life has ups and downs, those stormy and overwhelming days that sometimes feel impossible to handle. But they also emphasized that those tough chapters don't define your whole story. You have the power to write your next chapter, to choose how you move forward. They encouraged us to start small, to focus on baby steps. They suggested writing down one thing you're grateful for, treating yourself with kindness, and remembering that reaching out for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. And they offered this beautiful metaphor. Even broken crayons still color beautifully. Your scars, your cracks, your vulnerabilities, they don't make you weak. They make you human, they make you real, and they make you powerful. It's a message of hope, resilience, and self-love. It's a reminder that even when you feel broken, there's still beauty within you.
And that's a powerful message to carry with you on your healing journey. So take a deep breath and acknowledge how heavy this all is. We've covered a lot, from the sneaky tactics of abuse to the profound impact it has on your brain, body, and spirit. We've also uncovered the incredible possibilities for healing and the amazing power of resilience. Before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What's one small step you can take today, right now, to move towards healing or to support someone you know who's experiencing abuse? It could be practicing self-compassion, reaching out to a trusted friend, or seeking professional help. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Even the smallest act of kindness can make a difference. Remember, you're not alone. There are people who care, resources available, and a path towards healing. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the final part of our deep dive. All right, welcome back for the last part of our deep dive. We've been through a lot, but this is where things get more hopeful, brighter. We're going to shift from the hurts of the past and look at what the future can hold. Because even after the worst storms, the sun comes up again, right? And even after the deepest wounds, you can heal. Remember that source? It was like a friend giving a pep talk. They said, even broken crayons still color beautifully. That really stuck with me. It acknowledges the hurt. Yeah, you're broken, but there's still beauty and potential in you. And that potential to heal, to grow, to change, that's what we're focusing on now. Reclaiming your power, finding your strength again, and stepping into a future with hope. One source, Psych2Go, really nailed it. They said, trauma is serious. It messes with your mind, but it's not a life sentence. If you get the right help, the right resources, you can overcome it. You can have a happy, healthy life. It's about finding healthcare pros who get trauma, doing therapies that get to the root of the pain, and never giving up on healing. And get this, one of the sources shared a statistic. It was a study from the Journal of Traumatic Stress, and it found that 80% of survivors who do therapy, their quality of life gets way better. 80%. That's huge. Think about that. Even with all the challenges, the scars, the impact of abuse, most people who reach out for help, they heal.
They have better lives. That's powerful stuff, right? It shows how resilient humans are. We can grow and change even after the worst experiences. And remember, healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means learning to live with it without letting it control you. It's figuring out how to cope with the pain, manage the symptoms, and become yourself again. Finding your strength, your resilience, and your ability to feel joy again. One source made a point that healing isn't a straight line. It's got its own pace, ups and downs, times you move forward and times you slide back. Be patient with yourself. Let yourself grieve. And celebrate every win, no matter how small it seems. And therapist Katty Morton, she reminds us that anyone can be abused, no matter how strong they are. It doesn't matter how capable you seem. She says, speak up, get help. You deserve to feel safe in your relationships, in your own home. We got to create a culture where people support each other, where victims feel safe to come forward. Break the silence, challenge the stigma, and make a world where abuse isn't okay. Medical Centric chimed in on this too. They talked about how important early intervention is, especially for kids. The sooner a kid gets help, the better chance they have to heal. and avoid the long-term damage trauma can cause. And healing isn't just about therapy and meds. It's about the little choices you make every day. Taking care of yourself, setting boundaries, building good relationships, finding ways to reconnect with yourself and the world. It's about finding those simple joys again, the ones that abuse might have taken away. Spending time outdoors, listening to music, making art, or just letting yourself laugh. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, here are some final thoughts. First, you are not alone. Millions of people have gone through abuse. There's tons of help out there. You are not broken, your past doesn't define you, and you deserve love, support, and a better future. Second, healing is possible. It takes time, it takes guts, and you got to be willing to face the pain. But with the right support, you can reclaim your life. You might even find a strength and resilience you never knew you had. And lastly, never underestimate the power of small steps. Every act of kindness, every time you take care of yourself, every step towards healing, even the tiny ones, those are victories. So keep going, keep believing, keep choosing to heal. You are strong, you are worthy, and you can create a life filled with joy, love, and peace. You got this.